Welcome to Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. My special guest today is Jessica Chichester, also known as Flychester. Earlier this year, Jessica was in the Boston Marathon. She came in first among the amateur runners. But wait, there's more. They looked at her chip time. She would have placed fifth among the elite women. Jessica ran the race of her life. I'm honored to have Jessica as my guest.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Jessica, congratulations again on running a great race under extreme blizzard-like conditions.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, Jessica, you know the number one question after the controversy of whether you were going to get paid or not for finishing fifth overall. But the Boston Athletic Association, together with John Hancock, says, yes, we're going to pay the $15,000. Has the check made it to your desk?
The check has not arrived. I'm checking my mail every morning and afternoon and night. It hasn't come.
Okay, but I guess you fill out the paperwork for it, so
Yes.
you know it's coming.
Yes, I filled out the paperwork. They confirmed they received my paperwork, so I don't think it's gotten lost in the mail. I'm just waiting. I think there's a lot to sort through, drug testing and the tax forms and all that. So it should be coming soon, though.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, Jessica, walk us through how you were feeling by the time you got to Boston.
So my whole training cycle felt really amazing. I felt really ready to go. And then it gets to be I think maybe 14, 15 days out, and you can start looking at extended weather forecasts. So I started looking at, I think the forecast was fine at first. And then we got into the 10-day forecast, and then it started getting a little ugly. So I was a bit paranoid about that. I went through a lot of mood swings that week. I was trying to stay positive the whole time because I know, the power of a positive attitude and all that. But it was just really tough seeing the horrible forecast, the 30-mile-per-hour headwind prediction, the rain, the temperature, after putting so much time and energy and focus on this single race. I thought, wow, this is the worst thing that could happen.
This was your fourth Boston, so you've been.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm cursed with Boston. I'm never gonna run a good Boston Marathon. But then, I'm thinking, okay, but everybody's gonna run under those conditions, so I'm just gonna go out there and run the best place that I can. I'm just gonna change. Maybe I'm not gonna make my time qualifier the 2:45, but at least I will come out, as high as I can in the placing stuff.
So your goal was 2:45 on the nose or under.
Yeah.
And because that would qualify you for the Olympic trials in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a goal. The weather wasn't cooperating.
Right.
So you're in the...
I was still planning I'm just going to go for that time anyway and just hold on as long as I can. I don't know how the weather is going to impact how much energy I'm expending. Maybe I won't be able to hold on to it the whole time, but I'm going to go for it. And maybe I'll die a miserable death the last 6 miles, but, at least I will have tried, and my whole training cycle will have been worth something,
Okay. Well, I've had lots of runners here, and particularly the ultramarathoners. They have a powerful mindset, and mental toughness. So you may have not known you had it because you probably exhibited at that race to have that kind of mental toughness because, you did an amazing race. And a lot of the guys, fell apart. The women did better. A lot of the elite women gave up because, the weather was just awful. But you didn't. So what do you think? Was it your training? Was your brother on the phone with you going, go, Jessica? Or, what was motivating you that day?
I was so focused through this training cycle, probably more focused than I've ever been. And I was visualizing the race every day. I was just kind of obsessed with it. And I was visualizing the whole race. And when I would visualize it, I would visualize just everything coming at me, lions and bears and like bullets, and everything was just bouncing off of me. So, and that's kind of how it felt during the race. Like just the wind and the rain, I just felt like everything was just bouncing off me, and I just totally got in the zone. And it's almost like, I don't know, I zoned everything else out. I was just like going for it.
Okay. Well, you were in, a lower corral, maybe corral 3, so you probably had a lot of people to zigzag by.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I just picked people off like one at a time. Well, packs at a time rather, because there was just packs of men. I started way back, so I passed hundreds of people for sure.
My gosh. Well, you came in first among the amateurs.
Yeah.
Now, what about the clothing? Runners obsessed over that. So tell us, what were you wearing? Your shoes to your top?
So I ended up wearing my Nike Vaporfly 4% for my shoes, which I kept them separate, like in a few baggies to keep them really dry, because I was out in the athletes' village in the rain for a couple hours.
Those are the
before the
famous
race.
Breaking 2 shoes. When Nike
Yeah.
did the Breaking 2, those
Yep,
are the.
those are the famous ones. And I kept those off up until I left the athletes' village to keep my feet as dry as possible. And I packed my socks separately, and I wore tall compression socks, and then I wore spandex fitted shorts and a long sleeve, which I hadn't even planned on wearing a long sleeve, so it was just one I happened to have. And then I wore gloves and like latex exam gloves over top of those to keep the gloves dry, because I didn't have any waterproof gloves and I couldn't find any the day before. And then I wore like a headband to cover my ears because it was pretty cold temperature, and my Dashing Whippets singlet and hat.
So people knew you were a Dashing Whippet.
Yes.
So you were not a sponsor, so you weren't wearing, fancy Brooks jackets or anything like that.
No special brand. I'm not sponsored.
So when you got to the halfway point, how were you feeling?
I felt pretty good. I hadn't really been paying attention to my watch or my time. I was just going kind of based on feel and racing more, like against the crowds. But I had glanced down a couple times, so I knew my splits were, they were on pace to get my 2:45 goal. So I felt really good. And I was just like, okay, I just need to hold on to this pace. And then Heartbreak Hill and all the Newton Hills, once I get through them, then I'm just cruising to the finish. So I was just looking ahead, just trying to maintain. And I planned my splits very strategically. Like I wrote out all my splits, and I kind of memorized them almost, or like basically memorized them based on the hill grades and everything. I kind of adjusted. Okay, so I knew I come through this split, it's going to be slow, don't freak out. I'm going to come through this split really fast, don't freak out. You're still doing the right thing.
So you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, just to give myself confidence and make sure I'm not blowing my race by running too fast a mile or too slow of a mile. So I just had an idea of.
That was amazing. And of course, we were reading later on that your brother was tracking you, your coach.
Oh, yeah.
His heart was racing because he saw that, oh my gosh, you're doing the time you were supposed to do under, very severe conditions where the wind and the rain is blowing sideways. When did you realize, you made your time for the half, so that you were going to be real close? Oh my gosh, I'm going to do 2:45. Was it by the time you got the Sitco sign?
Like after Heartbreak Hill, when I still felt I had energy, that's when I was like, okay, it's gonna be really close. And then I ran a couple, and I knew I went out to Boston beforehand to preview the course. Even though I'd ran it a few times, I just wanted it fresh in my head. So I had visualized it when I was previewing it a few weeks prior to that. So I knew it's like, okay, this is going to be more downhill. This is going to be easy. I finished my course preview in much faster than I did the whole thing. So I was ready to do that. I was ready to cut my time down, but then I started to get tired. So I reached like 3 miles to go, and I think I had to finish in like less than 20 minutes to get it. So I was like, oh gosh, that's like,
wow,
it's like about a 6:15 pace. Can I do it? So I just like gritted it out and stopped paying attention to my watch and just tried to go as fast as I could for those last 3 miles. And I almost got it, but I didn't. I didn't get under 2:45.
23 seconds off.
23 seconds off. So I saw it on the clock and I was like, okay, well, I still had a decent race. I smiled and took my medal and I was like, okay, I'm happy with my race, I guess. And then that's when I finally got through to my bag and I got my phone. And then I was like, oh, I guess I did better than I realized because I had so many text messages and missed calls and Facebook notifications. And everybody was sending me the same screenshot from Twitter or something that had my name on the 5th place. And that's how I found out. I was just very confused at the time. I don't think I really registered until I had gotten into my Uber about 5-10 minutes later.
Because you wanted to get back to the hotel and get a shower.
I was freezing. I was, that's all I was thinking about. And I was like, okay, I'll figure out what's going on with this 5th place thing a little later. I gotta get into it.
And the media's going crazy because 5 out of the top 6 women were unknowns. The only one anybody knew was the winner, Desi Linden.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, who, and who?
Yeah.
And the media, of course, they had to get their stories out. Mm-hmm. One of the writers called me because he knew I knew about the Dashing Whippets. And I knew about the Dashing Whippets blog, the dog, I think they call it. So I sent him the link. It was interesting because I Googled Chichester.
Uh-huh.
A city in London came up, but not a whole lot about you. I said, oh my God, the Dashing Whippets blog didn't show up in my Google search.
Uh-huh.
So I sent it to him, and he was so pleased that he got a little insight, knew about your brother because you talk about him and some of the things you were doing.
Yeah.
When did you realize that this was going to be a big deal?
When I saw that I got 5th place, I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to talk to a bunch of people now. I'm going to have to do a lot of interviews. All right, better prepare myself,
And then, of course, the controversy was where you're going to get, prize money. So I think we should explain that a bit because it is confusing. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody was trying to cheat anybody here.
No.
The crazy rules. So it's the way I understand it, you can correct me, the elite women go out a half hour earlier. And they have a 26 minutes head start.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not quite sure, what makes an elite woman, but they go out a half hour early and they it's really a race within a race because they get all the attention, all the media, the cameras, Catherine Switzer talks about them. In the meantime, you're way back there, chugging along, running your race, the race of your life.
Yeah.
So your chip time was better than Shalane Flanagan. I think she came in overall like 6th or 7th. You were ahead of her. Yeah. An amazing day. Mm-hmm. So there was the question whether to pay for you, and it were 2 other runners that came in with the top 15 that weren't in the elite corral. Mm-hmm. So first question is, why weren't you in the elite corral?
Because my previous marathon time didn't qualify me for the elite corral. So I didn't have the option to run with them.
And if you did have the option, you would have taken it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's being allowed into the elite corral, that's almost like just like an award in itself, just being able to be in that. So, of course, I would have accepted it and I would have ran with them.
So there was the controversy. They didn't make the decision right away, although this has happened in other marathons where the other women that did better chip time than the elites, and they were given the prize. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people had a suspicion that it was, they were going to come around. So exciting because people were sending GoFundMes. People wanted to give you the money.
Yeah.
It was really intriguing.
Right.
How did you feel about that when you heard there was a GoFundMe to give you $15,000?
I was just like, there's no way I could ever accept the money from strangers. They should be donating their money to maybe like cancer research or something, not to pay me. You know what I mean? So I was flattered, but I never would have been able to accept it that way.
What was your feeling overall about that controversy?
I wish that I would have been able to start with them so that it wasn't a controversy at all, and I would know how I would have came out, if I were competing directly with those women. But at the same time, I ran the race of my life, and I ran a faster time than a lot of those women. So I did feel like I was deserving of the prize money. I was just like racking my brain kind of to come up with a solution for it so that, the women can be highlighted apart from the mass start, but also not have a situation like this happen again. But I didn't come up with anything really. I mean, other than what a lot of people are saying, they could expand the women's elite start to let a little more sub-elite women into that division so that, an up and coming runner
I like that phrase,
can
up and
have,
coming
yeah,
elites rather than sub-elites.
yeah,
I also like the word citizen runners,
yeah.
because one of the headlines was nurse finishes fifth, next day works 10-hour day.
Yeah.
I mean, were we supposed to go to Disney? I thought the headline was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, Jessica, let's start at the beginning.
Mhm.
Tell us where you were born, something about your childhood.
I'm from a small town called Mount Morris. It's like 30-ish miles south of Rochester.
In New York.
Yeah.
People in Manhattan, they don't know about this city.
Yeah, yeah.
There's Rochester, there's Mount Morris.
Yeah. So it's like a 5-6 hour drive from the city. I lived there my whole life. I started running when I was in 7th grade. I joined the cross country team because I was kind of forced to. My older sister actually started the cross country team. She was a team of 1, and then she was slowly trying to recruit people so they could actually have a full team and compete. And so when I finally got into 7th grade, they're like, "You're joining," because my sister had already showed some talent. So, everybody was looking forward to see what I could do.
Uh-huh.
And I was pretty good in high school, but it was a small town, not too much competition.
Okay. And your brother, he was your coach. He's a younger brother, right?
My little brother, yeah.
And he also did very well in Boston, I guess in 2011. He came in 11th.
2012.
2012?
Yep.
He came in 11th.
Yeah.
And he's also hoped to join you in 2020 at the Olympics trials.
Oh, yeah, he just qualified
Ah, so you're next.
a couple weeks ago.
Okay. So I think you're going to try again in
Berlin.
Berlin. When is that?
September 16th?
This year.
Mid-September, yep.
Oh, okay. Not.
Oh, I'm also registering for California International, so
And that's in December, I think.
that's in December.
So if you don't make Berlin, unless Berlin is terrible, well, actually, but terrible weather is probably good for you. But Berlin, is a fast course.
Yeah.
So you probably have high confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So did you go on to college?
Yes, I went to University of Albany, and I didn't run my freshman year. I kind of was like, I need to focus on school, and maybe I'm done with this running thing. And then after a year, I definitely missed it. I would run with like a little recreational group there, and I was like, okay, I want to, join the university team. So I worked hard all summer and tried to get myself into shape, which was tough, but I did it, and they let me onto the team, and I slowly improved and I got better, but I wasn't that great in college. It was Division I, so a lot of competition, a lot of really, really fast women. Yeah, I mean, I had school to focus on and stuff like that too.
Major?
So biology.
Okay. You now are a nurse. So what led you to the nursing field?
Well, I mean, I was always interested in sciences and healthcare. I was interested in maybe being a dentist. That's why I went into like the biology major, pre-dental. And then I volunteered at a dentist office, didn't like that. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be a physician assistant since I'm already doing this like whole kind of like pre-medical curriculum. So I started working in the hospital, and then I was surrounded by all these nurses, and I just got a real respect for nurses, and I went to nurse practitioner school, and now I'm a nurse practitioner. After my biology degree, I got a second bachelor's in nursing from Binghamton. It took me 4 years of bio, then a year of nursing, and then 3 years for grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that shows a lot of willpower there. I mean, it's not easy to do.
No.
Did you have to work to pay for tuition?
Yeah, I worked pretty much. I mean, I worked during undergrad part-time. I worked during nursing school part-time, and I worked full-time during grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's interesting? I think the second place winner was also a nurse.
Yeah, she's a nurse anesthetist.
Okay. What kind of nurse are you?
I'm a nurse practitioner.
And what is a nurse practitioner?
Nurse practitioner is an advanced practice nurse, so we go beyond like the registered nurse role where you usually see registered nurses in hospitals working at the bedside. The advanced practice nurse or nurse practitioner, what I am doing now, we're mostly seen in primary care. We diagnose and prescribe therapies and medications for patients. So under like the supervision of a physician. Yep.
Sounds like an awesome responsibility.
Yeah.
You enjoy it?
I do, yeah. It's got its frustrations and challenges, but overall it's really rewarding and I like what I do a lot.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of work. So how do you maintain physical activity in order to be able to run your best marathons?
It's a lot of finagling. So, I mean, you just fit it in because, I mean, that's what I love to do. So, of course, I'm going to fit it in no matter what. So, I mean, I'll run in the morning before work. I'll run to work. I live in Greenpoint in Brooklyn.
So you run to where?
I work in Glendale, which is in Queens, which is 5.2 miles from my house. So,
okay.
So that's, you know, a nice, easy recovery run. I can run to
With a
work.
backpack, I guess?
Yeah, and I can run to work faster than the train. So it's actually a big time saver for me.
Okay. Was your coach always your brother? Or?
I don't know why we decided to have him start coaching me. I think because I was training for a race. What was I training for? I guess I was training for a Wineglass Marathon, which was in October beginning. So it was kind of off schedule with the Whippets, my running team's schedule. So I was like, oh, well, let me see, you know, what Tim has to offer me, my brother Tim. And he had just ran like Olympic trials and everything. And he gets some coaching assistance from his team, but he pretty much, you know, makes up his own plan. So we decided to let him coach me for that, and he was running the Wineglass Marathon as well.
Oh, so you run it together?
Well, yeah, but then I got injured. I got a stress fracture, so I didn't get to do it. But after that, he coached me through the whole Boston Marathon training cycle, just because I liked, I guess, his style and his workout plans. So. And just like the support, because we talk every day about running, and it's just
over the phone, I guess. Because
over the phone, text message.
Because he lives where? In Massachusetts?
He lives in Hornell, which is kind of out near my hometown.
Oh, he lives upstate New York. Okay. You mentioned the Dashing Whippets. We mentioned you run for them, and you proudly wore their shirt.
Yeah.
So how did you discover the Whippets?
So when I was in Albany after college, working in the hospital, I joined this team, Willow Street, a bunch of really awesome women. And after I left there, a couple of the ladies from Willow Street came to New York City. They were like, let's run this race in Central Park. It was Ted Corbett. So I was like, oh, I'm not really in shape, but okay, I'll do it. So I was in grad school, and I was super busy at the time. I wasn't really running much. But I ran the race, and one of the women that came from Albany introduced me to Matt Wong. And then she told Matt Wong, she's like, she's super fast. You got to recruit her. And Matt took it seriously because after that, he, you know, was emailing me, Facebook messaging me, you know, everything. I have a lot of appreciation for him.
One of the co-founders of the Dashing Whippets.
Yes.
And he has a reputation of being also its best recruiter.
Yeah. Yes.
And he does it in such a way it doesn't feel like harassment. Oh, well, you said harass. It doesn't feel like stalking, but
I couldn't find the right
interest.
word. But he's awesome, and yeah, I owe him a lot for harassing me
in a positive way.
Yeah, because he'd be like, "Oh, Jess, sign up for this race," and it never would have occurred to me to sign up to this race. And he'd be like, "Oh, go to practice." I was like, "Okay, I'll fit that in when I can."
All right, when you can. So your priorities were, you know, your patients, your professional life, and running. Well, in part, it was like a hobby.
Yeah.
So you were a true amateur.
Yeah.
So fitting that you were the number one. I mean, I love that title, number one amateur in Boston.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you kept with the Dashing Whippets. So you just like that they pushed you, that
Oh
they
yeah.
really show a genuine interest in your running career.
Yeah, I mean, I love my team. They're the best people ever. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's several Whippets. There's one in Brooklyn, there's one in New York, there's one in Boston.
Yeah.
Which one do you
Well,
participate in?
I live in Brooklyn, but I guess I mostly train with the Manhattan people because when I first joined them, I lived in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And so I just got used to training with those people. And also Prospect Park isn't Brooklyn, but it's pretty much just as far as Central Park is from me, from my where I'm living in
Okay.
Brooklyn. So
Okay. Now, when you finish your workout, do you run home or do you?
I run to the train, or
Okay.
depending on where I work out, I'll run home.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. You got to get your mileage in.
exactly.
So what was your peak mileage in terms of for preparing for Boston? Did you get up to 100?
No, 80.
80. So it tells you, you don't have to run 100 miles to be a
Yeah,
really good marathon runner.
or like, what could I do if I ran 100 miles?
Well, the thing is, there's that balance of injury
Yeah.
and fitness.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
What's the best thing you do for yourself? Do you take massages? Do you foam roll?
Yeah, I foam roll. I get a massage every week or two, depending on how beat up I feel. During Boston training, if I felt any kind of tweak, I would get in to see Emmy at Finish Line. She's my teammate and physical therapist. I tried to do some more yoga and stretching and stuff like that to
Okay.
keep
Okay, so
limber.
what's the best advice you can give to the next Jessica after you? What was the things that was the most important to you? Was it the nutrition? Was it the cross training? Or was it all of the above?
It's everything. All the little things count, but I think mostly your mentality and positive attitude and confidence in yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.